right, Sunday night. Welcome, welcome, all you groovy guys and dolls out there. We are here, and you are there. And we're going to talk a little about Randy Meisner tonight, who, had he lived, would have been celebrating his 80th birthday today. Imagine that. An 80-year-old Randy Meisner. Well, I tell you, they're all getting up there in years. Hello, Melissa Jennifer Jones. How you doing? I got ready to start, put my glasses on, and the lens popped out. I'm here 5 minutes before we go with super glue. And this one's super glue, but I got two more pair down here just in case. What happened? I heard something. Can you guys hear me okay? Let me know. Let me know. From Alberta, Canada. Greetings to you, Dwayne. Yep. Right, Dwayne. Yeah, I'll take that. If I get your name wrong, just correct me. That's all right. I don't mind. Happy birthday, Randy, from Patty. All right. I'm doing just fine. I'm doing just fine on a Sunday night. Couldn't be doing better. Michael Chewing, all right. Yeah, we are. We're all getting older, and that's the way it goes. People aren't going to forget Randy. Most of us old farts don't, anyway. The Eagles was kind of the soundtrack of our life, if you think about it. Definitely, he will be missed. There's no doubt he's missed now. Hello, Tommy. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Randy. I got a video I want to show you a little bit. Got some really, really cool pictures of Randy here. Yeah, I'll add this one real quick. Check this one out. That's Randy standing up back there by the drums. I think that's that group called the Dynamics. That's Randy standing there by the drums. Yeah, we don't have to look in the mirror, but I have to see myself on this camera at times, and sometimes I'm sitting there going, man, what happened? No, it's all right. I don't mind getting older. Part of life. But I don't have to like it. As long as I got my music, as long as we got the music to hang on to. Oh, there you go. All right, I get it. Polish, yeah, well, I did. You know what? I saw the Eagles live. I actually saw them twice on the Hotel California tour. But I got a video coming up. I'm going to play it here in just a short in a few minutes, and we can watch it, and then we can discuss all of Randy, all that we want to. We'll talk about him. We'll watch this video. And this video is about Take It to the Limit, which was Randy's big song. Now, he sang a few more in the group, but this is the one that Randy is known for. And there's some stories behind it. There's stories of why Randy quit the band over the song. And this video here I got is going to clear a lot of that up. So I'll tell you what, everybody's sticking around. Let's go ahead. Let's go to this video and let me play it for you. I think it's about 8 minutes long. I'm not sure. But watch it. We'll listen to it. And then we're going to talk about this, okay? And this will clear some up. And I can I can actually elaborate more on it now that I didn't do in the video and tell you how I came up with this information on Randy. We'll do this to celebrate his birthday because I don't like his name getting smeared around. I think he was one of the nicest guys, and I do believe he was one of the most important members in the beginning of the Eagles, getting them started. All right? Okay. Hey, hang on. Here we go. We're going to watch a video for a little bit. Put this on break. And let me know if you have problems hearing the video or anything, okay? If it's too loud or not loud enough. And let's go for it. The Eagles' hit song, Take It to the Limit, will always be known as bassist Randy Meisner's signature song. But was this song a double-edged sword for him and the band? Of course, it was a song that brought Randy out into the spotlight, and then the song to cause the conflict leading to his leaving the Eagles. Or was it? You might be surprised since most of the stories told back that up, but could those stories have been fabricated? Just a little? Or maybe a lot? So let's take a look back and see if we can shed some light on the writing and recording of this great song and some of the live performances of it, especially the Knoxville show where Randy and Glenn Frey got into an altercation backstage because he refused to sing it that night. This leading up to Randy's final decision to quit the band. Was it really over him not singing Take It to the Limit that night? I used to think so. Randy Meisner said he had never written songs early in his musical journey, but that it was the Eagles who convinced him to start writing. Still to this day, writing is real hard for me, Randy said. I need co-writers, and I just wasn't fast enough, like Henley and Frey became. Randy had started writing the song Take It to the Limit, and Don and Glenn had come over to his apartment, and they worked together on getting it ready for the upcoming recording sessions. Take It to the Limit was to come out on their fourth album, titled One of These Nights, from which it was issued as the third single. Although Glenn Frey and Don Henley would sing lead on most of the Eagles' hit songs, Randy's vocal performance on Take It to the Limit would help it reach number 4 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. The Eagles and producer Bill Szymczyk did a fantastic job recording and producing this song. There was still some lyric changes going on during the recording phase of it, but once everything was together and the music laid down, Randy nailed the vocal part. Now here's something to think about. I don't know if this is a well-known bit of information, but after Randy left the Eagles, he recorded an album around 1978, and he re-recorded Take It to the Limit for that album. It's pretty straightforward with a more acoustic sound and a piano carrying the major load of the music. Randy's voice sounds as good as ever, although in the mix, I think the piano was a bit too loud, and there's none of his high falsettos on the outro of the song. Randy left them out. Just my thoughts here, but was this the way Randy had always envisioned the song and wanted it recorded? I think this is a good possibility. I'll leave a link to Randy's version of this song in the description box. Give it a listen and tell me what you think about it. Now, Randy did not perform Take It to the Limit on the Eagles shows once the tour started to promote One of These Nights. He'd wrote another song with Don Felder for the album titled Too Many Hands, and this was the song on their set list. Too Many Hands was released on the B-side of Lion Eyes. What was to make Take It to the Limit so unique, especially to Randy, was the song was not supposed to be a single. It had never been pushed as a single by the band or the record company, but was radio-driven instead. Randy said, what was nice about the song, it was never really promoted. It was the radio people who chose it without being pushed. A lot of times, you'll push a single, but this one was on demand. It was because it was getting so much airplay, they had to release it, so that was a real nice feeling. And every time we would play it live, it would always bring the house down. So once the radio and the fans started getting behind the song, the Eagles naturally started performing it during their concerts. This started sometime in September of 1975. The first time I heard him do the song live was late November of 1976. It was the beginning of the Hotel California tour. Bernie Leadon had just left with Joe Walsh taking over. The show was in St. Louis. They opened with Hotel California, and around the fourth or fifth song, they did Take It to the Limit. Randy got a standing ovation during the last part of the song, and it lasted until the end and the music faded out. I saw the Eagles a second time on this tour in Memphis. That was June 29th, 1977. And it was basically the same show I had seen in St. Louis about 7 months earlier, with a few minor changes. Opening with Hotel California, and Randy again performed Take It to the Limit sometime about halfway through the show, and he received a standing ovation. Now, come to find out, this show in Memphis I saw, but didn't know at the time, this was the night after the infamous show in Knoxville where Randy got into the fight with Glenn Frey. This fight supposedly occurred and was reported, and still is today, because Randy would not go out and perform Take It to the Limit for the encore. The fight between Glenn and Randy would be the final straw, causing Randy to leave the group after the tour. Now, if you'll bear with me here, I'm going to give you some information and maybe clear some of this up. I'm not going to say I'm 100% right, but I've changed my thinking on just what might have went down that night after the Knoxville concert. Why? Because there's some proof out there that the song was performed that night, and just as I had seen the night after, in the middle of the show. So there's no way this song was scheduled as an encore. They would not have played it twice in the same show. So why did Don and Glenn say this? Randy has said in interviews a few times that he was always anxious when doing that song and hitting those high notes on the end. And who could blame him? There's no room for error or any place to hide if you blow it. But he performed it night after night. There's no place I've ever found saying the song was left out of the show, and I've read quite a few newspaper reviews, including one from the Johnson City Press Chronicle. They wrote quite a few of the songs that was played in Knoxville that night, and it plainly states Take It to the Limit was performed, and it happened in the middle of the show, just as it did the following night when I saw him. So why did the rumor get started that the fight happened over Randy not singing Take It to the Limit? Well, that can be laid off on Don and Glenn. In the history of the Eagles, Don Henley said, "We were backstage and the crowd was going wild, and our encore number was Take It to the Limit. People loved that song, and they went crazy when Randy hit those high notes. But Randy didn't want to do the song that night. He'd been up partying all night with a couple of girls and a bottle of vodka, and Glenn kept trying to talk him into it. He said, 'Man, people want to hear that song. You've got to do it.' And Randy kept saying no. So after about the third or fourth time that Randy refused, a fight broke out." Now all I have to say about this is the newspaper review states that Take It to the Limit was performed that night, and it was done in the middle of the show. So there is no way it was scheduled as an encore. And why Don had to add up partying all night with a couple of girls and a bottle of vodka? Am I the only one who wonders why he had to add this little barb? Randy admitted to complaining about singing the song at times. He said he was drinking that night and felt sick with the flu, but he performed the song as always in the middle part of the show. He said Glenn wanted him to go out and do a third encore that night, and Randy just didn't feel like it. The Eagles, to my knowledge, never did a third encore. Don Felder said in his book they never did a third encore, except at the hotel after the show, which is another story in itself. So maybe Glenn was just pushing Randy that night. A lot had been building up, and Randy exploded, which anyone who knows Randy, including Don Felder, who said it had to take a lot to push the mild-mannered Randy into taking a swing and then trying to choke Glenn. So, like Bernie Leadon before him, Randy Meisner walked away. His last show was about 10 days later in Houston, Texas on July 9, 1977. Why not singing Take It to the Limit was used as the excuse. I just think Don and Glenn were trying to paint themselves in a good light and throw Randy under a bus. As for me, I used to always believe it was the Take It to the Limit story, but not anymore. Randy Meisner's vocal performance on Take It to the Limit has to be considered as one of the greatest all-time live performances in music. Don and Glenn making up a story about the song to put Randy in a bad light was a shame. Here's a couple. And there you have it. So what do you think? Now, I will tell you this. To get that article that I read that came from the Johnson City newspaper for Knoxville, I paid $20 just to get in there to find that article and read it. I had the only thing I could do was do a screen capture on it. I couldn't download it or keep it. But that is exactly what the news article said. And it was the same thing that I seen the following night because I was there in Memphis. Now, I didn't know it at the time. None of this was known. But he sang Take It to the Limit. And I'm sure the news article said he did. Randy said he did. It was Don Henley in a documentary that said he wouldn't perform it for an encore. I really didn't like the idea of that. You know, here's the thing. You can fight over money and you can do this and do that, but you don't have to cut each other's throat in a documentary. And Don Henley did that to Randy Meisner, and he didn't deserve it, I don't believe. So I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Randy Meisner. What about you? Let's hear some of your comments. I'm going to go through some pictures here real soon of Randy. Egos do. They affect bands. They affect the members. But even, what can I say? Put your ego behind you when they're doing a documentary that they know a million people's going to watch, and to just out and out lie. You know, and I'm not saying, in my heart, I believe he lied, but that's from what I've read from the newspapers and what I've seen. It doesn't mean he didn't, but as I said, Don Felder said they never did a third encore. The third encore was actually, they handed out little cards and buttons that said 3E on it, and they would hand them out to girls, and they would tell them where to go and meet them all at the hotel to party the night after the show. That was their third encore. As far as I know, they never did one. They definitely do, from taking a little rest, and that's what Don Felder says in his book. That's what the band needed. They needed a break, because once they started Hotel California, it was just, they was all over the place and just constantly touring, trying to get the long run album done, and it was tough on them. So, I don't know. Eric Swanson, howdy. You aren't the same Eric Swanson that had the YouTube channel from prisons to the street, from the streets to prison, or prisons to the street. I'm trying to remember what the name of that channel was. He used to play he had a really good kind of a hard grungy rock song opening the show. I used to watch, if that's you, I used to watch your YouTube channel. I think Don and Glenn, I thought of them so. Well, they were the leaders. That's the whole thing. They put the band together. Glenn Frey was the leader, and he had the final say. He worked with Irving Azoff, their manager, and he was the go-between between the band and the manager and the promoters and stuff. So yeah, there's no doubt. And he could say what he wanted. The problem was they was they was doing so much blow that they didn't say things the right way. When you're drunk and stoned, you don't say things in a business-like manner, and that was a big problem. But I can understand Glenn's frustration from Randy not wanting to sing the song. But, yeah, right, Tommy. I know that. It says it in the paper and everything. And you lived in Knoxville, so that's the whole deal. You know, no, he's not no sleazier than any other rock musician. Trust me. They was all sleazing around with young girls, and there was young girls all over the place. That's part of rock and roll. And it happens to all of them. They're all like that. I'm not joking with you. Um, it was just he got a bad one. That is you, Eric. How you doing, man? I used to watch your channel all the time, all the time. Are you still You was in Last I heard you was living in Kansas, if I remember correctly, but you was talking about moving, and then I didn't see any more come up on your channel. Hope you're doing okay, man. I really am. Oh yeah, there's no doubt a rest would have helped him. Especially some of them because, like Felder said, when he went home, he laid off the drugs and stuff, and the partying and the running around and staying up late night with all the women and stuff. He didn't do that. It cost him his marriage, later on, but they did. They needed to get away from it. I don't know. Randy says there was a fight, and Glenn Fry said there was a fight. So I don't know about that. I wasn't backstage. That's it. I'm Eric. I did 11 years in prison. I remember your channel very well. Yeah, 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 yeah. I remember. Yeah, oh yeah. We used to talk. Yeah, a lot. I followed your channel quite a bit. I love all the people on here. This guy I'm talking to right now, Eric Swanson, has got one of the best speaking voices you ever heard. He sounds like somebody that ought to be in radio. I'm telling you, this guy's got a great voice. And he used to tell some great stories. He was in prison for 11 years and came back out and got everything together. And last I seen, he was working on his house in Kansas. And I believe he was in Kansas. And then you moved. Oh, yeah. I seen the one in Memphis, Tommy. They put on a fantastic show. There's no doubt about it. No doubt. Moved away from Kansas. I'll be darned. Well, you know what? Um, no, I think I was down here, but I moved. I moved from Illinois to Florida. I left, and I'd been there. I'd been up in that area, most all my life, except when I was playing music, and then I was away from it. But I lived up in the Midwest, and I moved away. I moved to Florida. I did. Well, I'm glad you got a new house and everything. I remember you was having trouble with some sinus infections too. I remember that. And then your mom had passed away, I believe. Yeah. See, I'm old, but I still got a little bit of a brain, brother. A little bit. Yeah, I think here's the thing. Glenn Fry was the leader, and Don Henley, I guess you'd call him the second in command. And they do take a lot of slack for what happened within the band. Here's the thing. They didn't like the way it was going with Bernie Ledden, So instead of handling it businesslike, they just nitpicked and got into arguments until they got into a fight until they quit. Well, they did the same thing to Randy. And you have to remember, these are they're young guys. Here I am. I'm an old guy. I was in a band when I was young. I know how it can be. They didn't. Glenn Frey and Don Henley and all of them in the Eagles. Randy, Bernie. Well, Bernie finally quit the drugs, but Don Felder and Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh was a big time partier, binger, and whatever. But they all drank, partied, snorted coke, smoked pot, chased women. They didn't chase women; the women chased them, and they was living life in the fast lane. That's how they wrote the song. And it's hard for him. You can't, I always said when somebody's drunk, you can't talk logic to them, or when they're out there, if they're screwed up on something. You can't talk logic to somebody when they're drunk. And all these guys was drunk and eat up every night while they was on the road. So they tried to handle their business every time when it was drunk, and they got into it. Glenn and Don wrote the majority of the songs. Glenn and Don, Don Henley sang 3 of the Eagles' 5 number 1 hits. So they was the important part. They was writing all the songs. Without them, the band couldn't go on. Without Bernie Ledden, without Randy Meisner, the band still went on. Even though I didn't care for the band, I liked the old Eagles. I liked the 4-piece group, and I liked them when Felder came in. But I did like them when Joe Walsh came in. But the Eagles, if Don Henley or Glenn Frey would have quit the group, the Eagles wouldn't have been there because they was the songwriters. They're the ones that helped Randy write songs and everything. So, let's see. Are you really? You gonna keep the same channel and keep it going? Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. A lot of people like my voice. I don't know why. I hate the damn thing. I've had it for so long. But I'll keep an eye out for the videos. When you get it up and going, catch me. I'm here every Sunday night. Catch me and let me know, and I'll put it up. Maybe some of the folks that follow me here would like to come over and check your channel out, too. If you want to, man, come over sometime. Get a hold of me. And come on one of the shows with me. I know you used to broadcast live all the time. You're more than welcome to come over and hang out with me for a while, and we can talk some music. Like I said, most of mine's in the classic rock genre, but well, I'm sure we can find something to talk about, guitars or something like that. I like it. Egos is a big thing. Yeah, control and money, and you take egos, control, and money, and you mix them with all the drugs, and you're not to yourself, you're going to turn into an asshole. You don't have to have a lot of money to turn into an asshole anyhow. But the way they was going, that was the biggest problem with them. But no matter what, the Eagles, they're I don't know what the word, I can't explain it, but they was a very important part of, they moved from that country rock California sound to a rock and roll band. And they did great in that sound. And I love that sound. I love their harmony when Bernie Ledden and Randy Meisner was singing with them. But they moved over into the rock genre and tore it up and just became millionaires, overnight. They just did. They made the right moves. How they did it, I have no clue. With what was going on in the band, just reading Don Felder's book. And I actually left a message for Don Felder on one of his channels. And I told him, I said, you need to write another book and finish up what happened after you left the Eagles. And I said, I'm sure you got a few more stories you didn't tell. And he said, that's been considered. But he said, right now, I don't have the time. And I said, yeah, I can understand that because, he's touring quite a lot now. But I'd really like to have Felder come out and do another book because I believe his book was as honest of information as we'll ever get. Because even now, if Henley would do a book, I wouldn't trust it as much because I have a feeling Don Henley lied about that, and he did it to keep the band in a good light, and I understand that, but he didn't have to do it that way. He didn't have to stick the knife in and then twist it a few times, and I'm sure they was upset because I don't know why. I don't know. Yeah, Kansas. Oh, yeah. Wayward Son. Love that song. I love that group. If you know something about them, come on, we'll talk about them some night. I'm sure some of the people here like it. That's for sure. They all do. Tonight we're talking about Randy Meisner because today's the anniversary of his, today was his 80th birthday, had he lived. He died, when did Randy die? He died in 2023, I believe. Don't hold me to that, but that's what I think it is. No, exactly. They wasn't. In the 70s, we didn't have, MTV wasn't there then. That's why we went to concerts. That's so we could actually see them and watch them perform and everything. It was different. Nowadays you can, like I said, I can buy the information I want from the newspapers and things like that. That's the way it is. Yeah, see, I know people like Kansas. It's a great band. I got a bunch of videos on my channel, Eric, if you want to check through them. See if you see anybody on there or like you want to talk about. We can do that too. Yeah, you know what? And it's almost sad to say, but I always say, I think a lot of the problems with the world today and with music and stuff, there's too much information. Think about it. When there's too much information, it's going to get tainted. It's hard. It's hard to do even the documentaries that I do because there's so much information out there. And nowadays, people just jumping on Chat GPT and whatever it spits out at them, that's the information they put out. And you can't believe some of the false information that's out there about some of our rock and roll stars. And I'm sure it's out there about any of the movie stars, it's not even like the tabloids. The tabloids used to just kind of twist things. This stuff is utterly wrong. I mean, it's awful. So, yeah, I liked it better back then, God, I used to come home early sometimes on Saturday nights, just so I could watch Midnight Special and see one of my favorite bands on, or on Sunday night. A rock concert was on. That's the only way we got to see them. There was no such thing as MTV. You could buy like the rock and roll guitar player books and look at pictures of them. Nowadays, you could go look at pictures of them all over the place. Yeah, it would be. It'd be a lot different, and maybe even the Eagles would have been different. They would have handled this better and more businesslike. But here's the thing, Irv Azoff, their manager, he was into the drugs and the money and everything just as bad as they all were. You know, I think just the bad part that I think about it was them forcing Bernie Ludden and Randy Meisner to leave and to walk away from all the corporation, because they started a corporation. There was five of them that belonged to the Eagles, and Don Felder was the only one that didn't walk away. And as you know, there's a video on my channel, and it's titled "The Kid from Florida Who Wouldn't Quit," and that's about Donnie Felder. And it's because he didn't quit is why he was able to sue them. They had to fire him. Randy Meisner and Bernie Ludden was not fired. They walked away from it. And it got so tough, I guess it got so hard for them that they just couldn't take it anymore. And Don and Glenn kind of made it that way on them. Information overload. Exactly. Yeah, easy access. You know, all my videos took a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to make them because I had to do research. A lot of them, my Linda Ronstadt videos, they don't come from ChatGPT. They come from from interviews. They come from newspaper and magazine articles, and you know, of Linda speaking herself, what she felt back then. She might not agree with what she said now, but what she, you know, felt back then. Oh yeah, big TV with rabbit ears, the aerial antenna outside, aerials. Yeah, you know, we had the one where you could stick. My dad fixed it so you could stick your hand out the window and turn the antenna, so you could get a better picture. Yes, and the kids do. They know their way around the internet. That's what's happening to YouTube right now. It's so flooded with kids putting all kinds of. They calling it AI slop now, and they're trying to stop it. Exactly, Eric. That's the whole thing. You know, a lot, and I find books. I like to find books that was written close to the time. You know, like when the bands broke up. You know, you got people writing stuff about Elvis Presley now, and he died in '77, and they're saying this. They remember this. You don't remember it as fresh as you did back at that time. The newspaper articles. This is what they said at that time. You know, when it was happening. Yep, 3 or 4 channels is all we had. That's it. Oh no, we didn't even have calculators when I was in high school. We didn't, you know, that I can remember. Everything was, you know, done like that. Saturday night. Whatever happened to Saturday night? Great song. Oh yeah, alcohol and drugs affect people. You know, Ed King walked away from it, um, and a few of the guys didn't get, you know, what they should have from Leonard Skinner. You know, Billy Powell and some of the other ones. Turn it on with pliers. Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah. We didn't get a color TV until I was 15 years old. You know how I remember that? Because that was the first time I ever seen The Wizard of Oz in color, where it changed from black and white to color. I didn't really know that. I was 15 years old. Oh, but anyway, I don't know anything about. I don't talk about politics. I don't like them. Oh, let's see. Yeah, computer punch cards. Oh yeah. Well, I've been into computers since, you know, the early '90s. Everything, you know, the 3.5 floppies and stuff, and we was sequencing music with sequencers back then. You know, long before all this stuff came out. You know, and it was all burnt onto a 3.5 floppy. The music was and everything. I didn't even know they had them. They probably did. Well, it's not nice to ask a lady her age, but I was in high school 70, 72 through 76. And I don't remember them, but you know what? I'm not saying it didn't. I probably remember high school about like how the Eagles remember some of them shows they played. Punch cards. Yeah, a lot of people do. Yeah, 1950s. Yeah, that's true. 1960s. Uh-huh. Yeah. You know, um, life was simpler back then. It really was. There's no doubt about it. Would I want to go back to it? No, not really, because I like my GPS in my car. I like my computers. I like to be able to my music and everything like that. I wouldn't want to change, but I do. There's a lot. There, there's a gentleman out there um, that talked about the internet and how it was going to destroy things. Uh, and his name's Jaron Lanier. He he created virtual reality and then sold it to Microsoft. And he's been into computers all of his life. He's from out in California, out in the valley out there, the Silicon Valley, I believe. And he was talking 10 years ago saying there's too much information going on. There's too many people living their life through Facebook and the internet. So, and it's only gotten worse over the last 10 years. The internet has exploded, if you ask me. Facebook used to be a cool place to go and talk with your friends and stuff. It's not like that no more at all. It's so full of bull crap and everything. 74, 78, yeah. Yeah, I was a 76 graduate. Joe Walsh, the album analog. Love Joe Walsh. Great player. One of my favorites of all time. Oh yeah, if technology crashes, it won't probably. There's going to be blips and gleeps in it as always, but I think we'll go. Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. When stuff first comes out like that, it's so expensive. Well, digital killed you can get any song you want on the internet and do it for free if you want to. I mean, that's been going around a long time. And the sad part about it is, just like Joe Walsh and them, that if you their song, you're purchasing it from them. They don't make a lot, but they make a little bit for each one. But you start getting all these kids on here, they're getting all this stuff for free, and that's it killed it. That's why a lot of them, Bob Dylan, I believe David Crosby, a lot of them guys, they sold off their catalogs, their copyrights of the songs, the publishing rights, because they wasn't making no money on them. They was putting them on Spotify and places like that, and they give them a little cut, but it's peanuts compared to what they are. Man, this thing sounds like it's crackling. I don't get the idea. I don't know what it is. I may have to work with this microphone down here. Sounds okay to you guys, though, huh? Let's see. Oh, sure. It does. That there's Don Felder's book talks about how they would cut and splice tapes together, to get a drum track. They would play it all as a band until they got to take 3 or 4 or 5 takes. Then they would take the parts of the drum tracks and cut the tape and splice it together, get a drum track, and put what they had to on top of it. You know, all that stuff was played live in the studio. There was no way to, you know, you couldn't really punch in and out. And like Don said, when you had something going, you're playing guitar riffs and stuff, he said you couldn't stop. You had to keep going because he said you waited and come back the next day, the tone was different and they could hear things like that. You know, it was a total different ball game back in the 70s recording compared to what you can do nowadays. Hey, Scott, good to see you, man. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Exactly, and that's why they tour, because that's why concert tickets went up. I mean, look how expensive it is to go to a show. It never used to be, and you know why? The shows was actually, in the 70s, they went out on tour to promote their albums. You know, they just wanted to make a little bit break even and pay for everything, because they made their money from their albums. Not anymore. They don't make any money from that. You know, they have to get it through the touring, and that's why they tour, and that's why a lot of the older guys are still out there touring, keeping the money coming in. Miranda Lambert sold hers. Yeah, I can believe it. You know, they can do it. Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. Spotify just does not pay money. Your best bet is to record your music, build a following, and you can sell it. You know, you can either sell people thumb drives or you can sell them still. People will still buy CDs and stuff, and just sell them yourself. You know, you'll make a whole lot more money. The thing about it is, places like Spotify and stuff will get you a lot of exposure. You know, just like YouTube, it gets you a lot of exposure. Um, and it works. That's a big thing, you know, trying to sell, but you can't do it, you know, all yourself. Like I said, I got a computer over here. You can't see it really. It's kind of in the shadow. You can see right back over this shoulder. If you look close, you can see one of my monitor speakers, and it's nothing but a computer set up to record. And then I got this computer that I live stream from, and I got this one over here on this side, this PC, that I put my videos together with. So I got 3 computers there. Hey, Steve, how you doing? Oh, that's all right, man. You know, just bring a doctor's excuse and say you was late. No, it's all right. I understand, man, totally. We forget, and YouTube don't put out the notifications like they used to. Oh yeah, they do. All these new things. They're not really playing a lot of it anymore. You know, and me, I'm too old school to do that. The only thing I ever did was I can't play drums. It's one thing that I cannot play. So I had to get drum machines or tracks and whatever and put drums with it. That's why I'm thinking about doing more recording. I'm thinking about doing more acoustic stuff because I don't have to have. All I need is something to keep me in time. I can at least get some stuff recorded. 180, yeah, and that's probably cheap too. You know, for a lot of it. What's Rush? 400. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The concerts never used to be like that. I think we used to, like, go to Super Jam. You know, back in the late 70s and stuff, and we would see 5 shows, and I believe it'd be like $12, somewhere around in that vicinity. But then again, I didn't make as much money back then as I do now. That's the big thing. That's the big thing. Yeah, it just depends on the venue and different things, you know, like that. It's still all Very, very expensive. It's like going to a baseball game anymore. You know, it's almost impossible for a dad to take his family to a baseball game. You know, a middle class person that works and be able to afford to take his kids and wife and go to the ball game and eat some hot dogs, drink a beer, have some soda pop and peanuts, and you know, when it costs you $25 just to park, you know, it's almost impossible. They've made it really rough on us middle class people here. Man, I've been on a guitar buying spree, man. I got all kinds of guitars here. We'll have to hook up sometime, man. I'll show you some of the guitars I got. You know, I got this software that I'm using here, and I've been meaning to tell people that too. I'm thinking about starting a private. It'd be just like this, except it won't be broadcast on the internet. It'll just be us, and we can talk, and we can play, we can sing songs, we can play music if we want to listen to something, and we don't have to worry about any backlash from copyright infringements and stuff. I don't know, Melissa Jennifer Jones, I sent you an email and explained a little bit of it to you. But what I can do, if you guys would like to join, we can set up a time once a month or so. And the way I have to do it, I have to have an email address, and I can send you a link, and you come in, and it'll be just like we are right here. And I can talk, I can play and sing, I can invite people in, like Eric Swanson there. If he wants to come in, he could actually get on. You can get on camera if you want to. It doesn't matter, or you can just sit there and talk, and we can play music and not to worry about it. The thing is, I have to have your email address because I have to send the links out to it, so you know where to go. All you do is click on the link, go in, and it'll ask you for a password, which I will put in the. I'll put it in the email, and I think that's the way it's set up. I got to do a little more research on it, on how to do it, and I am working with that. So if any of you want to email me and just put in the header or just in the text, just say, you know, keep me in mind for the private chat, let me know. And then we'll set it up. You can, I can send out emails before, like, and we can talk about it, even find what a good time is for everybody. You know, I don't care if we've only got 3 or 4 people there, if we get 24, it don't matter. You know, whatever y'all want to do. But you all want welcome. And let me put my email address up real quick. And it's coming up right there. Now, why did it do that twice? Anyway, there's my email address. All you got to do is email me and tell me, and I'll put you on the list there. And when I get ready to do this, I'll send you out an email and let you know. And we can do it. All right, I'm getting behind here real quick. Hang on. Oh. Yeah. Way too expensive. Concerts are way too expensive anymore to go to. Happy Sunday, Dwight Burns. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Yes. Yeah, Garth's music, yeah, they pulled some of it off. I've heard that. Um, the guy that wrote Friends in Low Places also wrote a song called "I'm Gonna Hire a Wino to Decorate Our Home." It was a big hit for David Frizzell, and he sold years ago. He sold the publishing rights. He wrote the songs. He sold the publishing rights off to them. Sold it. Both songs sold for $500,000, and they'd already made him quite a bit of money. But a lot of them, you know, are selling them. They're pulling them off. You know, it's just getting that away. Yeah, Eric, it'd be a lot of fun, man. You can come hang too, man. Just send me an email to my address there, riverdocs@yahoo.com, and just say, I want to join in and everything, and you're more than welcome to do that. Can Meet do that? I don't know what Meet is. I have no clue. This is like it's like a webinar. It's a seminar. Except we're not going to do it like a seminar. I'm not going to sit there and preach. We're just going to talk about music and, not have to worry about it. And if I feel like playing some guitar, I will, And I don't have to worry about getting copyright strikes and claims on music and stuff like that. It would be accessible by Android phones, iPhones. You can get on with a tablet, a PC, anything. Just, whatever you're using right here, you can use that too. It's pretty much true. Yeah, anything's like that anymore. If you know the internet real well, you can get anything you want for free on the internet now. You can watch movies. There's live streaming movies all over the place now. Any movies you want, you can get them for free, and watch them. And the people that, they're supposed to be getting money on the movie, they don't get them. They don't get their money. Yeah, go to local acts. You know what? Nowadays, I never walk by. There's a lot of people down here in Florida that play just singles. You know what I'm saying? They just play guitar and sing and stuff. And I never, ever walk by without giving them some money because I know what it's like. I remember those days very well. And they deserve it. They're still out there playing real music for real people. Oh, that's total. Everybody, they're all doing that. You don't really hear a band anymore at any of it. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, just drop me an email. You don't even have to let me know who it is because I know nobody's gonna. It's gonna be somebody coming from this live chat because this is the only place I'm gonna mention it. See, I used to do it on Facebook, but you can't do it on Facebook no more. They was pretty lenient during the pandemic, but they quit. They quit allowing you to play music and songs like that. I think there's people even doing this, and they're kind of starting little radio stations because they can play the music there, and you're not doing it. There's no profit to it. Nobody's making any money. It's just like we're all sitting around together on our own little space on the web. And see, I pay for this software that I'm using called StreamYard. Well, you're allowed to do webinars on there. And I can't remember how many people. I think I can get up to 50 or 200 people in there. I don't know. And it's just us. It's not Facebook. It don't go to Facebook. It don't go to YouTube. It don't go to Instagram, Twitter. It don't go nowhere. The only thing is, it does go on, load it up on a cloud, but I can just tell it not to. And I don't want to record it and save it or anything. I just want a place where we can hang out and talk and have a good time and not have to worry about people looking over your shoulders telling you what you can play, sing, or talk about, I even got a copyright claim, I don't know, it's been 3 weeks ago. And all I was doing was standing here and I don't know, somebody said something, excuse me, somebody said something about a song. And all I did was sing one line of it. And they jumped on it trying to get a copyright claim, so they can, get a few pennies off my videos. They're simple, man. How you doing? Happy Sunday to you too. Nah, yeah. I just won't do it, I'll tell you one thing that I'm probably going to do. I don't know if you're familiar with a guy named, a country star named Tim McGraw. Good friend of mine from back home. He's been with Tim McGraw for probably 30 years now. And he's playing down here in Tampa in September, I believe it is. And I'm going to go down there, but I'm not going to pay to get in, and I'll go down and hear that. because I can't, you can't afford it. I mean, it's just so very expensive. I mean, I can afford it. I don't want you to think I'm broke or anything, but I can put the money to a lot better use. Oh yeah, you should. Yep, you should definitely. Yeah, you just even if you only got $1, it don't make no difference. I think it's the appreciation that there's so much. But the guys deserve money. Yeah, McGraw's good. I like him. He's a nice guy. I've met him a few times. I'll definitely check. I'll definitely check, and I'll get back with you. Maybe not tonight. I got some stuff to do tonight, and I got running all day tomorrow. Uh, I got 5 pedals here that I ordered for a friend of mine. He's an older gentleman, and he can use his phone a little bit, but he doesn't know how to order anything online. And I ordered him 5 pedals for his pedal board, and I got to take them to him tomorrow. What? Are you kidding me? That is way, I'm gonna pay. Well, who's the one guy though? The one hippie that used to play for Kiss for I don't know 6 months or so. I can't think of his name. He's got an album or a CD out or something. He's won like $300 a CD. He said people don't want to buy it, fine. I don't care. I don't know if he did it for publicity or what. I can't think. What's his name? Vinny Vincent. Yeah, that's what I said. Holy cow. Tedeschi Truck Band, I mean, they're great. But $5,000, forget that, man. I can do a lot more with $5,000. I can. Hell, I can go to Jamaica for 2 or 3 weeks on $5,000 from here. No way. No way. To be brutally honest with you, I got a compressor and an analog delay. And right now, I don't have a lot of, I got a small place here. I don't know if you can see it back there. I got a 5-watt Fender tube amp, a champ, a Vibra champ. And I turn it up on 10, and that's the way I get my distortion. And I'll put a compressor on it and play it like that. When I play, like I said, I don't play out anymore except with an acoustic guitar. I don't play in bands anymore. And my friend Tommy, you've seen him, he comes in here. He lives over here by me, and we get together. He plays percussion and some drums once in a while. And we just play around together, stuff like that. But I like regular pedals. I don't like the multi-effect, all that programmable stuff. One thing, I have piss poor eyesight, so I don't see real well. So I don't do that either. Yeah, MX or analog course. Yeah, I just ordered. I told you I ordered these pedals from my buddy. I just ordered a pedal too. I got one from a company called Donner. It's an analog delay. And I got it for $25 shipped to the house. So I bought 2 of them, one for him and one for me. And I hooked it up, and that analog delay sounds just like it's supposed to, like an analog delay. Yeah, I just, even when I played out, I used a compressor. I used an MXR Dynacomp, and I played Gibson guitars for the most part. I'd play a Fender every once in a while, but mostly it was Gibsons. And I even played in some, Southern rock and country bands with it. And I just used channel switching. Back then I used PV amps because it was affordable and they lasted a long time. And I just switched between channels when I needed distortion and stuff like that. Boss makes really good pedals. Nosebleeds are $200. Good God, how can people afford that? The analog delay I got was made by Donner. You could look it up on um, eBay. They're on eBay. The Donner analog delay. Let me see if I can find it here. Hang on. This one's a little bit bigger. This is the one I was using, the yellowtail. Now, see how little them knobs are on top? Okay, as you know, I can't see. So this is the one I bought. And if you notice, this one is just a little bit bigger. It's called a Dream Boy. And as you can see underneath the button, it says Donner. It's made by Donner. It's a little bit bigger. See, it's a little bit bigger than the Donner mini pedals. And this one was 23 something plus tax with free shipping to my house. This little pedal here for $25 sounds very good, especially for somebody like me that just plays around my house. And like I said, I do record and it's all digital. And I got a choice of any delay I want to put on my guitar when I'm recording. But just to play at the house here, it's really cool. It's got some neat stuff. But you can find them on eBay. I buy a lot of stuff off eBay. Well, you know, I bought some of them Chinese guitars that look like Les Pauls. I bought some of them. You know, them things were selling for a couple $100 a piece. I got some of them, and I got some of them I've tricked out a little bit, and some I've just left the same. You know, I still got some. When I retired from the workforce and moved down here, I sold a lot of my older guitars that I had. And the reason for that was because I wasn't taking them out playing. I had a 64 Telly, okay? I wouldn't take that guitar out to play, not because I was scared to get scratched, because it was scuffed up pretty good. I was scared somebody would steal it. And it's worth too much money, so I wouldn't take it out. It's set at my house. Well, there was a lot of money in that guitar. I had a 76 Gibson Firebird. I had a 82 Les Paul Custom. And over the years, I just sold them and took the money and invested it. And I replaced it with Epiphone guitar. I got a couple, three Epiphone guitars. I still have a Fender P bass, but it's a Mexican P bass. You know, they're a little less pricier. And you know, because I knew retirement was coming up for me, and you got to have, you know, you can't retire on Social Security. There ain't enough money there for that. And you know, with what I had for retirement and selling guitars, and then I sold a house that I had back there and stuff. We had enough to do it, but that's why I got rid of a lot of it. I can take these cheap guitars and work with them. Now I can't see good enough to do fret work anymore, but I got a gentleman up here by me that does it for me. He'll go through it and level the frets, polish them, and set the whole guitar up really for $100. And I'll have that done if it's needed. And I add different tuning keys to them sometimes. And I got pickups. I got old DiMarzio Super Distortions here. I got all kinds of pickups and stuff laying around. I think I probably got 18 guitars here right now. And that's for somebody that don't play. You know, I play my acoustics out. You know, I got like 3 or 4 acoustics. Memphis, yeah, I had a buddy. He had a Memphis. I'm trying to think. It was a double cutaway, but it had humbuckers on it. And man, that guitar was the shits. I'm telling you, it really sounded and played good. He used to play it through a PV Mace amplifier, tube amp, and man, that thing screamed. It was a good sounding guitar. Yeah, you might. You used to show off some stuff. Hey, you used to talk to Dirty Pat Walsh. Remember Dirty Pat? He's still around, man. He's still got his channel going. He's playing harp all over the place. Cause I think I seen him on your channel. He comes over here every once in a while. Oh, Dirty Pat. Hell of a harp player. Plays some great blues. Well, you know what, guys? We didn't even get into the Randy Meisner pictures, but we sure had a hell of a conversations going. And that's okay. That's what it's all about. I don't like to, I kind of wanted to go over that deal with Randy, and try to clear him up a little bit. A lot of people say things about him and this, that, and the other thing. And I just wanted to clear it up for him. Yeah, he plays guitar well. He's got a video out I seen the other day. And I left a comment on. I still get notifications from him every once in a while. He was playing like a dobro. Sounded great, man. The guy's really got a good feel for blues. He really does. Good guy too. Really nice guy. I like Dirty Pat. Yeah, you don't want to see. Mine was an '82, and it was the Gold Burst, and it went for about 6,000, 6,200. The '64 Telly went for 20 grand. These Chinese, the wood they use in China to make these is lighter. My Les Paul Custom, I believe it was it weighed 10 pound 2 ounces, and all these ones coming out of China are right around 9 pounds. They're a lot lighter because my shoulder won't take it. I can't stand up and play one for a long time. My back's old. Yeah. Yep, mine was an '82 Gold Burst. Had the tuning keys that flip out and crank and everything on it. It was really a cool guitar. I love that guitar. But I wouldn't take it out and play it. It got to the point where you just don't want to do that. And you sell them. They did their job. It was like selling one of my kids, though. It was really hard. Yeah. Well, guys, I'm going to have to pick it up and pack it up and head down the highway. I got a few things I need to do around here tonight. Like I said, y'all, if you want to put your name, send it to my email, riverdocs@yahoo.com. And when I get this set up, it might take me a couple, 3 weeks, a month to get it. We'll set up a private one to see if we can get it and how it goes. We can do it in an evening. Just to say, get them going in the evening or, an afternoon. I don't know. We'll have to see what everybody's got, what everybody's free, and we'll come to something that everybody can meet, okay? Oh, who we got? Doug Riddle. Any relation to Paul? Just kidding. Good to see you. Yeah, Paul Riddle, he's the drummer for Marshall Tucker. You do too, Eric. It's good to see you, man. I'm glad I recognized the name. The picture, I couldn't see it really good or everything. I couldn't see if it was you or not. But I figured, hell, I'll take a chance. I don't care. I'm glad it was. I'm glad you stopped by, man. It was good to see you, brother. I hope you're doing good. I really do. We can talk more later. I will, man. I'll let you all know. All right. All you groovy guys and dolls, as I always say, you have a good night. Be good and be kind. Even if it's on the internet, no matter how much of an asshole somebody's being, there's still human beings behind all these, all the typing you see on Facebook and Twitter and stuff. There's human beings doing it. Some of them, I don't know if they should be or not. But you know what? It's best to let them go. Be kind and be nice to people. You feel a whole lot better by yourself. I got to run. Thanks for stopping by. You know I appreciate it.